datamaskinene. Og jeg såpass gammel at det var 10 i 100 som stod i klasserommene. 1 i utvalgte klasserom, vil jeg merke. På dem så var det Brom, og det ikke et Bromspill, men et tekstbehandlingsprogram som forløperen til Word Perfect. Snake, som jo da Snake, sånn som vi kjenner det i dag, men det var det ikke greit å holde på med i timen. Og så var det et regnespill, et litt sånn gangetabell, lær deg den kjapt, som et Mons og Marte. Og det vet jeg at det har vært laget moderne versjoner av senere også. Men så fantastisk som det var å kunne spille litt i timen. Det var jo helt skjønt. Så allerede i forrige årtusen så var det altså noen pedagoger og lærere som så verdien i å leke seg til matematikkferdigheter. Noen år senere, og et par teknologiske framskritt senere, så hverdagen for skoleelever en helt annen enn at teknologi sjeldne avvekslinger i timen. De har PC-en oppe i hver time, og de har nasjonale konkurranser som mobiliserer til ekstra innsats. Firmaet We Want to Know til Dragonbox, en app som skulle, viste det seg, revolusjonere måten som barn lærer algebra. Algebra eller bokstavregning, det blir av en eller annen merkelig grunn fort oppfattet som vanskelig, og det trengs gode virkemidler for å gjøre det tilgjengelig. Og med Dragonbox så blir algebra til en lek. Dragonbox en kjempesuksess, og jeg tok en sånn liten Google-test på det. Hvor mange hits får du på Google hvis du søker på Dragonbox? Og det 912 000. Og så fortalte Jean-Baptiste meg her nå at totalt så det rundt 400 000 nedlastinger av Dragonbox første utgave, og da Dragonbox Elements. Når jeg snakker om nasjonale konkurranser for skoleelever, så mener jeg selvfølgelig Algebra Challenge fra januar i år, der ambisjonen var at norske elever skulle løse 350 000 ligninger, ganske mange, via spillet Dragonbox i løpet av en skoleuke. Og jeg ble sittende og følge den der counteren på hvor mange ligninger disse barna klarte å løse. Og jeg fikk helt sjokk, helt hakeslepp. Og den counteren, den stoppet først på 7,7 millioner. Det helt sinnssykt. Ungene var nok hekta for Dragonbox før Algebra Challenge, men dette synes jeg tok kaka. I mai i år så var gjengen bak Dragonbox ute etter å få ungene hekta på geometri, og vi fortsetter nå i høst. Som geometrientusiast det derfor min store glede, og på vegne av Realfagsbiblioteket, kunne introdusere for dere mannen bak Dragonbox, Jean-Baptiste Huynh, matematikklærer og tidligere finansanalytiker, som her for å presentere 2279 år senere hvordan Euklid ble til et dataspill. Vær så god, scenen din.
Skal vi se, fungerer det? Dere hører meg bak? Veldig bra. Jeg tenkte å holde dette foredrag på engelsk. I'm going to speak English because I was on vacations in Spain, on France, and my Norwegian is gone away with the wind. It will be about pedagogy, didactics, and mathematics. This presentation is also about my passion as a teacher to communicate mathematics. So the first question, revisiting Euclid's elements, the first question is, why am I here today? Why? And the answer is very simple. I do not accept the way we teach mathematics in school. I do not accept the way we teach other subjects in school. I'm ashamed of the school we have for the children today, given not only the technology, because I don't care about technology, it's more a matter of engagement and responsibility. So I'm here today because I believe we can and we have to change the way we treat our children. We have to change this form of respect that we don't show towards the children in school. Simply, when I want to provoke people, I say that school, to me, is a prison. And teachers, they are just guards in this prison. Many teachers are shocked by this vision. Unfortunately, if you ask kids what they think of school, within a couple of years after they started in school, they think it's pretty boring, it's alienating, and we still believe that we don't have to pay attention to what they say, what they feel, and it's really shocking. So the very reason why I'm here today is because I believe we can change that and we have to do it. So I'm going to explain to you how I try to do it, and I hope it will inspire some of you to join this cause. So how do we intend in the small company where I am to change this attitude we have in school? By listening to the kids. I'm not the first one to say that. Many pedagogues have said that earlier, for many centuries. So to be learner-centered is key if we want to change the way kids are treated. And I know, because I was a teacher, that it's extremely difficult to be customer, I say customer to shock a little bit, to be kid-centered or learner-centered in a school, because you don't have time to reflect so much. You don't have the means to change the way you teach. So we need tools, but we need also time to reflect and observe and test new ideas. And in your daily life as a teacher, you have absolutely no chance to do anything about it. No chance. So listening to the kids is key. That means that you need to put yourself in the kid's head. It's not really possible, but you can, with a little bit of creativity and imagination, you can think of what they feel and how they perceive what you try to teach them. And if you listen to kids and you observe them, you will very quickly come to the conclusion that they are very smart, and they are extremely curious, and they want to act, everybody knows about it. All the teachers teaching who took some pedagogy, they know about it. But do they do something with it? No, because you don't have time. So actually, after a couple of years in this business of trying to instill a little bit more of listening to the children in schools, I have to admit that I'm a little bit disappointed, because it's not that many people really engaged who feel the responsibility to really listen to the kids. So we can say that's because of the bureaucracy. It can be many sociological reasons for that. But the fact is that there is almost nobody paying attention to the kids. I'm a little bit brutal now, but it's really my feeling. So how do we want to change the way we teach or the way kids learn? It's by listening to them. This is the how. How do kids learn? So here, the first thing I wanted to share with you is the fact that kids, of course, they don't learn as we learn, and it takes a lot of courage, really courage, to sit down and listen to the kids. As a teacher, it's almost painful to listen to your pupils, because you cannot do anything with it. You don't have time. You will be discouraged very quickly. And the few teachers who are really, how to say that, really think that they can change the world, they become burnout very quickly, because they are stuck in this conundrum where school has the mandate to both teach, educate, and teach these competencies that business wants. It's too much for a teacher. It's too much given the social setting that you inherit in a classroom. But we have to do it if we want to change the process. We have to listen to the kids. We have to change our way of teaching, integrating exactly how they learn. So for younger children, the major conclusion I came to, and I'm not the only one, is the fact that language is a barrier. That's the most important barrier to learning. So maybe some of you know that given the number of books you have in the shelves of your parents, we can already know what kind of studies you will follow, because everything is based on language, books, language. And especially for families and children who are not coming from the well-educated families, right? Even mathematics, which is about logic, is becoming a nightmare. We introduce this jargon, these very complicated words, which are very specific, certainly useful at some point, you know, to deepen your knowledge in mathematics. But we introduce this language way too early. We are not paying attention to the kids. And this learning process that has been in place for many centuries or decades now, it doesn't change so much. There is no incentive to change the system. It's on the margin all the time. And I think that the only way to change really in depth the system is to start listening to kids. Kids don't really master a language before they can experience the concepts. Here I wanted to share with you some thoughts. That's a belief I have. It's not backed by any research, or it might be, but I haven't heard of it completely. Is that I'm a strong believer that to learn a concept, you can start by learning by metaphors. At the beginning, it's concrete metaphors, right? We learn by metaphors, that's my belief. And then later, you will build metaphors on metaphors. So without starting with a concrete metaphor, especially for younger children, everything you try to teach through the language, if there is no experience of the concept you're trying to teach, it's just like it has no impact. And bore your kids. They will feel frustrated, and you too as a teacher. To understand the importance of this experience, the importance of these manipulatives is key. Many people have understood that, but they haven't taken that to the point where you systematically try to create metaphors, concrete metaphors at first, and then abstract metaphors. And I know that mathematics, at some point, people believe that metaphors are useless, and you shouldn't try to make sense of mathematics because anyhow it will not work. I don't know if we play with words there, but I believe that everyone in this room, we are learning by metaphors, by examples. And this is key. And that's what we try to do in our company, create these metaphors, trying to reach the children in a way they can, so that they can understand what we are presenting. It goes through experiences. So what do we do? In the small company, we want to know, we create digital manipulatives. That's the very first thing we try to do. We don't think of games, we're thinking of digital manipulatives. So here you have an example. That was the first game we had about algebra. Seems like a very weird game, but for kids it's very concrete. We explore social learning events. Everything which has with pedagogy or motivation is of great interest to us. We want to listen to kids when they play with digital manipulative, but also how they interact with other kids in their learning situation. So I will not drop names like Vygotsky and so on, or Brunner. It's just, it's very basic. If you listen to kids, you understand very quickly that the social setting is key, and that to manipulate things is key too, right? So our little company is just dealing with that, exploring mistakes. So last year we decided to take this geometry subject. So we have a lot of freedom in our small company. And there is something we believe in, is the fact that we don't want to pay attention to the curriculum in school. What we do is try to pique or tease the curiosity of kids, and we will teach whatever the subject is important for our kids. So when we think of geometry, we don't think of just manipulating lines or circles. The key stuff in geometry, this is proof. Proof is one of the most important stuff you can learn, and you should learn that as soon as possible. It's about logic applied to, yes, shapes, but it's an excellent training later that you can reuse in different circumstances. And certainly, as you know, the scientific method is a result of this Euclid thinking. Do we teach this in school today in Norway? No, very little. Maybe some people who are specializing in mathematics in high school. Why do we teach? How to draw circles? Everything which has with real thinking and reasoning, it has gone away from the curriculum. It's too difficult, we are said. Is it really too difficult? No. Is it important to learn about it? Yes. This is one of the most important stuff you can learn in mathematics. And this something, this pattern of recognizing evidences and performing proof, this is key. You're going to do that all the time in mathematics. Does it matter? Yes. Does it matter in school? No. Why? I don't know. Up to you to come with an answer. Are we dumbing down our kids? Do we want to make them just repeat procedures? No, everyone's complaining about it. We do that more and more. So, 1 year ago, we decided to take Euclid. And of course, you want to know more about Euclid. So, what's the first proposition, the second proposition? I had never read Euclid's Elements in my life. And I studied mathematics to a certain point. It's quite high. I had never read it. Not by lack of interest, or maybe, I don't know. But it's just not, no, it's not important. And it was a revelation, a real revelation, to read this book. It was a beautiful experience. A really beautiful experience. What I want to share with you is math and you. The way you teach math, usually, I think many people have a tendency to teach math the way they were taught math. So how do you change that? Very complicated story. Many people think that mathematics should be difficult. It's a question of values. I don't think so. But here, already before you try to teach anything, you know that it's a very subjective process. And some people, they don't want you to learn about proof, or they think it's not something for you. Who's going to decide that? So here is just parenthesis. Who is deciding what our children are learning? Who? Do you know? Does anyone in this room know what our children are learning? Why do they spend so much time in school learning something? Who's deciding that? I asked, I never got an answer. Some groups, some committees, some... Nobody's questioning the system. Nobody's questioning really mathematics learning. So the first question for us as a small company, we want to give the opportunity to our children to be empowered to learn about a very important subject like what the content of Euclid's elements. But we have to reflect, what does it mean? What's our relationship to mathematics? How are we going to teach that? Right? What do we know of that? So we had to start, but where? There are many things. We want to create kind of a product or an experience for kids to learn this very important proof concept. How can we provide that? So we can, of course, we want to listen to the kids, but it doesn't mean anything. So you can start with this idea. I want to communicate proof to very young children, and older children too. So where do I start? Well, what can I manipulate? We have this idea of digital manipulatives. Is it enough? So back, trying to create metaphors, try to get the curiosity alive. That's what we try to do. So we get some inspiration from Oliver Burr. In 1847, he created this edition of elements. And I don't know if you notice, it's beautiful. He was thinking at this time, so it's more than 2 years ago, I think kids have problems understanding the book of Euclid. Can we do something with it? Major innovation. What did he do? He replaced all the figures with colors because he understands that, oh, maybe kids or maybe grown-ups, they can understand better Euclid's elements with colors and shapes. And I read this version. It was very easy to read. And it's almost an artistic performance. Look at that. Who in this room had heard of this edition of the book Euclid's Elements? 2 people. How many years have you studied geometry in school? How many years? 15 years? You've never heard of this book, which is a beautiful book. I mean, I would give that to my children, and I do. How come nobody has heard of it? Certainly, I had not heard of it before I wanted to create the game. What's going on? Is there any channel of communication? What's the best way to teach something? Something is broken. Let me tell you a little bit more about the process to create this game. The first thing we have to do is to deconstruct geometry. So we took the book of Euclid and we tried to deconstruct it. By saying deconstruct, that means what are the very single elements of learning, that exist? What do you know? What should you know to read this book? And there are many things you should know about congruence, about length. It's really many, 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 many words and many experiences, many concepts. And we had to deconstruct that, in small pieces before we could put that together again. So that's the first principle. If you want to create a serious game, for those of you who want to join this course, you have to deconstruct your subject. It takes a lot of time. That means you need to master really what you want to teach. And very quickly, when you read the elements of Euclid, you will understand something which is extremely powerful, I think. Who's this guy who wrote this book? Maybe he never existed. Right? There are some rumors it was not one guy, it was different guys. The way it's done, you have some constructions and you have some proofs, and it's mixed. So basically, if I was a teacher and you were really good in math, I would take one position and I would say to you, no, go ahead. You know what? No one would solve that. No one. It's too difficult. Even the proposition number 2 is too difficult. Number 1, yeah, we might sense that we can find a way. Proposition number 2, go home, relax, watch TV. It's too complicated. And you know what I was thinking? What do we do in a classroom? What do you do as a teacher? You have your book, your mathematics books. It's based on Euclid's elements. They take a few propositions or few exercises, and they say to the kids, okay, no, you have to solve that. Nobody has time or the power or energy to solve all these problems. Even the simplest problems are very complicated. So what I believe is that what do we do in school? We teach kids to repeat a procedure, or, oh, it's solved this way, I'm going to solve it exactly this way. So you are remembering some strategies, and it's okay, fair enough. But it's very seldom you are really creative. Very seldom you are exploring ways to solve problems. Today in geometry, it's construction mainly, no proof. And to us, it was very difficult. We were thinking, oh, but in Euclid's book, there is a merge of construction exercises and proofs. How can we follow that? It's way too complicated. Nobody is able to solve that, even grown-ups, even mathematicians. And we were thinking, what's the most important thing? Proof, not construction. Who's interested in proof in school? Nobody. Nobody. There is no market for this tool. So once you have chosen and analyzed your book, elements, you know exactly, you have deconstructed everything. You see elements, okay, the kids, they need to learn this, 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 this. What do we do with that? We want kids to explore mathematics. We want them to explore the different concepts and have a digital medium, a device. So you want them to play with this concept. So you need to find the right controls in the game industry. That controls, that means what do you do with these objects? How do you interact with it? If there are some gamers here, they understand perfect. When you are your Nintendo or Wii, the controls is how the system is reacting with you. It's user experience. It's the same with us. There's a lot of work to understand and try to find a way so that kids can have a great pleasure playing with mathematics concepts. That's the digital manipulative. It's not easy, but it's feasible. And I guess it's feasible in most part of the cases. Why? Because mathematics is extremely consistent. It's a beautiful system which is consistent or consistent with each other. Okay, so we have this idea. We want to communicate proof. Okay, we analyze what mathematics is about, what geometry is about. We know all these subjects. We try to play with the controls, the interaction that kids will have. And then at some point, you have to think, okay, but what will it look like? Because kids, they need to know, what is it about? Is it just wood? It's not wood. You know, digital devices, it's pretty, how to say that? It's poor. You have to create an immersive environment to motivate kids, especially. And at which point should a graphic designer or an art director go into the project? Believe that digital manipulatives is the way forward for learning mathematics. You need to know how to industrialize, how to repeat this experience, how to create these digital manipulatives, this immersive motivation for kids in a systematic way. And this is very difficult. Many people in the industry of the learning games, they try to create this experience, which is a game. But because people in charge of the art, the illustrations, they don't really communicate well with people in pedagogy. And for us, we are very lucky because we have an art director. He's a big fan of mathematics. It's very seldom to find these two competencies in one guy. So can you imagine you're thinking, okay, kids, they have to play with these angles. They have to play with these lines. They have to play with geometry. And you have doodling there. Illustrators are thinking, okay, how should I do that? Well, maybe the angles, it could be some spider. Oh, no, maybe it will frighten the kids. So here it's a process which is very time-consuming, very chaotic, and we happen to have some trials like that. It might not be a good thing for kids. We don't know. We try to find a balance. It's not only the content we want to communicate, it's also the form, because you want this experience to be very enjoyable. So we try different stuff. Here it's more, more sober version of the game. And we have all these tools. And we're thinking, oh, maybe for younger kids, not a good thing with all these tools. It's complicated. Maybe you want to directly play with these concepts with your hands. Play with it. So there are different iterations to come with the right product. I don't know if it exists only one right product, because each time we take choice decisions, and we never know if it's the right decision. So creating such a digital manipulative on a game, it's like in mathematics. Sometimes you have a problem, you don't know if there is an answer. So you can prove that there is no answer, or you can prove there is an answer, but it's more like that. We are really exploring the space of possibilities, and we don't know if it exists an answer. So you need a lot of faith when you start such a project. And at some point, you see the light. Here, this is the prototype, the paper prototype I came up with, and I saw the light. I cannot explain what happened, but I was thinking, oh, maybe we should do that, where we can scaffold that like that. They start with the length, or maybe they can play with the triangles, or let's scaffold that like that. And straight away, it's kind of inspiration, many levels, and a playtest. Playtest is extremely important. So I was mentioning listening to the kids. It's important. So I'm not a teacher, so I have plenty of time to reflect. I have plenty of time and plenty of resources to create these digital manipulatives, and I can test that. And that's something a teacher cannot do. You take your product or your prototype and you test it. It doesn't work, go home, retry, poof. Oh, it works better. Maybe we should do that. So basically, it's like a teacher would spend 2 hours to prepare a lesson. The type of games we do is like a lesson, or many lessons, and it's 10 people preparing this lesson for 1 year. Just to give you another comparison. And it worked, it was a great joy. It's many, many, many hours of work, many days, 8 nights. It's a lot of work. And then there's this question of scaffolding. Because even if you can create this digital manipulative, you need to figure out, okay, but the kids, they're different. They're so different. And we see that in the playtest. Something that you see as a teacher, when you create a game, you see 1,000 times more difference than when you're a teacher, a normal teacher, observing. Because you can observe their behaviors in the game. The digital device lets you have an insight that only a few people have. So you have to think of adaptability and scaffolding so that it's a beautiful experience for them. You direct them a little bit, you nudge a little bit, but still they have to be in control of their learning. They have to keep their curiosity and their inspiration to discover things, explore things. And here it's maybe an anecdote, but it's something very special. I saw the light, conceptually speaking, but my director, he didn't see the light. He was, oh no, I don't see it, I don't see it. And one day he came to me and said, Jean-Baptiste, I saw it. I said, what? I saw a tower. So he designed this tower, he sent it to me, he said, I see the game, I see the characters we can have, I see everything. Pedagogy, art direction, but without the art direction, you don't have any game, you don't have any experience, you don't have the kids with you. And the difficulty in making what we do is to find the right guy who can cooperate together to create this magical stuff. which are at the crossroads between pedagogy, art, and actually programming too, because we have many limitations. And the result is, because he saw the light, so he saw these characters. Each character is actually a mathematical or geometric figure or shape with different properties. So it's beautiful. I would have never thought we would come with that. It's many steps to come to this. Many steps where we listen to kids. If it's okay for you, I would like to show you the result of the game. If you haven't seen, has somebody seen the game? Who has seen the game? Oh, quite, not that many. So if it's for you, I will comment on different. Can I take this one? It's already there. There is no sound. It's normal. So what's the result, basically? So today you go in school and you have a teacher talking, sometimes following the book, do this exercise, do this exercise. We talk together a little bit, no feedback. Almost no feedback, I guess, because there's so many kids, there is no feedback. And here you have this experience, this immersive world. Beautiful colors. And you have this quest to go and kill the dragon at the top. Has it something to do with mathematics? No. But it has something to do with the motivation of kids. There are different ways to motivate kids, right? You have social motivation, external motivation, and so on. But here, the power of the story, this is something kids are really aware of, and they buy that. So let's take it. So you're building your army to fight the dragon. That's the story for kids. So here you have a tutorial. I talk about controls. How do you play with angles? How do you play with this opposite angle theorem? Again, in school, you're going to say, today we're going to learn about the theorem of opposite angles. Many words, no metaphors, no experience, no. The first thing you do is to play with angles. So I can take it, move it on the other side. Here, it's in the middle of the game, I have a triangle. And the kid, he has to create, but also prove that there is an equilateral triangle, right, with these three horns. He knows that. Nobody's saying that to him. He discovered it. He said, oh, this guy here, he wants this guy. Let's find it. He doesn't think of, oh, I'm going to prove that there is an equilateral triangle somewhere. No, he's in the game. But by playing the game, he's actually only 100% doing math proof. So he's going to say, this is a triangle, right? This is a character. This is a simple triangle. Okay, it has three corners. Certainly kids will say that, which have the same color. So I know that this guy is actually this guy. So I can just click on it, you know, to name it. So first it's an isosceles. Then I can, if I click on the theorem, it's an equilateral triangle. Very simple proof, right? And again, the power of the digital manipulatives of the game, you have the feedback, but also the speed of learning. It's insane. Maybe there are 100 or 200 levels in this game. It's all proofs. And the kid could, I guess, do 200 proofs in an afternoon. Keeping the curiosity, the exploration, and really learning something of value. I can keep on. Repetition, right? So go further, and we scaffold that with more theorems, more characters. So let me show you one of the last levels. Let's say, not sure where I am now. Yeah, it's darker because you're closer to the dragon. And you have to find this guy. Okay, he has 2 pairs of parallels. And again, the kid, parallels, what's that? No, but note that there are some wings there, and they can play with it. And this helmet, it's because it's right angles. So we have a codification. We have our own words or symbols or icons to define exactly the same properties that we define with the language. But we don't use the language. We use our own language, which is easy to understand and appealing to kids. So here I right angle, right angle, right angle. This guy must be the guy I'm looking for. One of the last levels. We have introduced the theorem with the parallel lines. The angles are the same, so the lines here are parallel. It's a quite complicated theorem for many people. And here they have just understood that the crossing line, I just drag and drop this angle there. And you have these 2 wings appearing and symbolizing that these 2 lines are parallels. So basically, we are in metaphors, we are in exploration, and kids just, they do not see they do math, they do not see they do proof. They just enjoy a game. But this game is the game of Euclid. This is a game of proof. There is something there, it's a parallelogram or a trapezium. We can keep on playing and exploring this world. So that's what we do. We believe that we can change the way we teach at least mathematics by creating these games on these digital manipulatives. It's full respect for kids, listening to the kids, their engagement. We don't destroy anything, any passion for learning, no. And it's pure joy. Even better if you play that with your kids. And I know people are a bit confused, especially if you have learned mathematics and proof a certain way. You don't really understand how it works here. But it's just the same. Mathematics, language we use, doesn't mean it's mathematics because we use this specific language. It's just a convention. And I would suggest that we spend more time in schools working with critical reasoning and critical thinking than just repeating procedures. Many people complain that they cannot do it, and I say, no, you can do it. But many more people have to design that kind of projects or products or services. Well, I don't know how much time I took, but are there any questions? No?
Okay.
Then I guess it's done. Over.
Thank you, Jean-Baptiste. Okay, thank you so much. It's a brilliant presentation of a very nice game. I'm really excited about it, and I want to go home and try it now with my 3-year-old. But I saw a question there somewhere. So you can answer questions in Norwegian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if you mentioned a lot of things that are covered in a book by David Sloan Wilson, and it's sort of a school called Prevention Science, and there are experiments like Sudbury Valley High School and other schools where they let kids do their own projects and work on their own, where they have sort of teachers as supervisors that help kids learn what they're interested in and follow their own interests. And you cover a lot of actually the same theories.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
Okay.
There are many theories, many. I'm just following my heart, kind of, and listening to the kids. That's my way of progressing. I'm not reading that much literature, actually. But I happen to rediscover many things because people to say, oh, but this is the same as what they say. I say, well, good. Might be on the right track. Yeah.
Okay, other questions?
I actually do not have a question. I just wanted to appreciate and thank you for what you have done and what you cared about.
Oh, thank you.
And for the beautiful job you have done. And a little critic to what you said in the beginning.
I have to listen.
That you said, I don't care about technology, but I care about children. The thing is that it's technology that has helped you and your crew to make this beautiful job happen. And we shouldn't, a guy like you should not underestimate the advantages of technology. Because like we cannot build enough school for the children, but we can give them tablets, we can have beautiful games like this to just give them free education. That's just what I want to say.
Yeah, but can I answer that? It's just, when I said technology, I wouldn't overemphasize technology because it's more a matter of attitude. If you listen to the kids, you can find out many people have done that earlier with the Kuiznaer roads, you know, to teach addition and so on. So it's not a question of technology. We have too much technology and it's underused. There is no content. Nobody is really using technology the proper way because it's not that many ideas actually there. People don't spend time really listening because they're yeah, okay.
So one more question.
I have just two comments. First of all, thank you and congratulations. I just played the game, and I like it. And I'm happy to see that this game is here because I think a valid criticism of the first game is that it teaches kids to do more symbolic manipulations, and I want less of that and more of this. So I'm glad that the concepts and the proofs and the logic and the reasoning is in a game.
Yeah.
In the same way that the other game was really, really fun.
Yeah. I understand your critic, and but again, algebra is really a nightmare for many kids. So we had to do something with it.
And the second comment is just that there's a wonderful book by Douglas Hofstadter. That's a famous book from several years ago. He recently gave out a book called Surfaces and Essences. And his main thesis and argument is that concepts are made with analogies and metaphors. That's the reason we have concepts. That's it. And he has like hundreds and hundreds of pages of that claim, substantiating the fact that the analogies are the engine behind concepts. Anyhow.
Okay. Good.
Okay, thank you. There have been a few mentions of book titles. I know that we have some of them at the Science Library, and some of them, actually the Oliver Byrne book that he mentioned, you can find online. I managed to browse through it a bit during a lecture. Anyway, we at the Science Library would like to thank you for coming here today. And give you this blanket. Thank you.
Blanket. Thank you. Make a game, win a blanket. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.